All right. Any questions on any of the stuff we've done thus far? Anything that doesn't make sense? So I'm going to go on. Number 7 says, for each bowler, print out his or her first name, last name, the team name, and the handicap score. So please look on this sheet right here, the one with a picture. So what that means is we're going to get, from the bowlers table, we're going to get the first name and the last name. From the teams table, we're going to get the team name. And from the bowler underscore scores table, we're going to get the handicap score. Does that make sense? All right. Now, we're going to get back a boatload of records because it's going to have the handicap for each game they bowled. And remember, there's a boatload of records here. So I'm getting back, when I did mine, 1,344 records. All right. So what do we want? We want to select, oops. You already know most of this, but we want to select what? From the bowlers table, the bowler first name and the bowler last name. Then from the teams table, we want to select the team name. And from the bowler scores table, which I love that because I get to call it the BS table. All right, I want to put in the handicap score. All right. So those are what I want to select. Where do I want to select them from? From bowlers, B, teams, T, bowler underscore scores, BS. But now answer this question. Stop typing. Look at the board. Answer this question. I'm joining together 3 tables. So how many join statements am I going to have? 2. I'm giving you the old syntax. Sorry about that. All right? I'll let you go back and write it the new syntax if you want to do that. Or use the using or whatever. All right? But I'm going to say where. Well, what do we want to do? We already know where b.teamID equals t.teamID. That'll join together the first 2 tables, but we have to join the other 2 tables together. Look on your sheet. Notice if I want to join together bowlers and bowler scores, they both have a bowler ID. So where b.bowler ID equals bs.bowler ID. All right, I'll give you a second to put that in. Does what's happening here make sense to you? It's not, can you type this in and not make a mistake typing? That's baloney. You know, if you don't understand what it is you're trying to get out of here, then what you just did doesn't really make any sense. All right? I mean, if I said, Tony, I'm giving you an extra homework assignment tonight. I want you to go home and I want you to write a 10,000-word paper on the Battle of the Bulge. So he goes out to some website, he finds everything, and literally says, well, he's not going to look anyway. So he just basically does this massive copy. And he counts, and, well, I'm up to 10,000. But he doesn't even read it. I look and I go, wow, that's pretty damn good. So, and then Matt comes up and he goes, so what is the Battle of the Bulge? He goes, hell if I know. Then what did he learn? He learned how to do data entry or data copying. And if that's all you're doing here, you're not learning it. Any questions on that query? I don't think there's any error on it. The reason it's listing tons of these is it's got the handicap score for every single game they bowled. 1,344 games. Do you all understand? If we wanted to, I had you put no ordering on here. We could have ordered it on any combination of any of these fields. Does that make sense? So if we wanted to see the biggest score first, we could have put the same query in and said order by the score, or the whatever it was, raw score or whatever it was, in descending order. Does that make sense? if we look at that table, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to describe bowler underscore scores. You see it in the handout, and you see it here. Everybody see that? Okay, so I'm going to say select star. You don't have to do this. From bowler underscore scores. You see where we're getting all those records from? These are all the scores. It's going to take a bit. A little longer than I thought it would. 1,344. Does that make sense? How those go together? Now, we're not going to go into this till next week, but what if I wanted to know what the biggest score was out of all of them? Okay, I could do this, right? I could do select star from this, and I could say order by, what is it? What do we want? Let's say the raw score. Raw score descending. I could do that, right? And hit enter. How many records would I get back? 1,344. I don't want that. All right? So I'm going to literally purposely put an error in here. So it beeps at me. Good. So what I can do, and again, we're going to do this next week. I can come back in here and say this. Instead of saying select star, I'm going to say select, and I'm going to say here max raw score, and I'll even put in the max handicap score. That a little nicer? That's called an aggregate query. That's telling the system to go through all 1,344 records and just give me the information I'm asking for. It's literally what's referred to as an aggregation. All right? Number 8 was if we put distinct before the first name, it goes down from 1,344 to 800. All right? And if we do it again, but if we do it exactly the same way, but we concatenate, it's still 800. All right? I'm jumping down, if you would please, to number 10. Number 10 on this handout. For each tournament. Well, notice we've got what? We've got a table named tournaments, right? Doesn't have much in it. We can, now you know this, I can say select count star from tournaments. There's only 20 records. That isn't bad, so I can say select star from tournaments. There's all the tournament information. What does that mean? That's the ID for it. That's the date it was given. And that's the place it was given. Okay? Does all that make sense? All right. So, but what we want here is for each tournament, we want to display the team names, which isn't even in there, the tournament date, which is in there, and the tournament location. Now, the problem with this, if you look right here, let's go back and look at our picture, if you would. Look at this picture. Okay, so we know from the tournaments table, we want the tournament date and the tournament location. Everybody cool with that? All right. Well, what else do we want? We want the team name. And where's team name? Well, the team name is under teams. The problem is there's nothing directly relating tournaments and teams. Would you all agree with that? There's no lines to them. It's worse than that, because we can go to it, and through it we can join together tournaments and tourney matches and teams. Would you agree with that? Those three would give us what we want, except we've got a team ID in the teams table, and now we've got an odd lane team ID and an even lane team ID. And what the hell is that? Unless somebody gives us that information, we don't know what it is, right? So this is one time where you as a database developer would have to go in and say, wait a minute, time out. Do you want one of those? Do you want the other one? Or do you want both? I'm going to assume you want both in this example, okay? I'm just going to assume you want both. So let's write the query. So I want to select from the tournaments table, which I'll call T. All right, I want the tourney date. I'll put it in the order they told us to put it. Oh, we want the team name, the tourney date, and the tourney location. So we want T, select T dot team name. All right, I can't do this. I can't call both the team table and the tourney table T. Does that make sense? Again, this is another example of where the software is looking to screw with you. And if you give it the opportunity, it'll take advantage of it. All right? So this is what I did. Don't do this. I said tournament, I'm going to call it TO. Makes sense, right? Tournament, pretty not bad. Not realizing that the word to is a key word in the language, and none of my queries were working. And I couldn't figure out why it wasn't working. And guess what? The answer, it gave me it there, right there. It said error around here in your program. And it said TO. But it never hit me right here that TO was a reserved word. So I just made it TR. You could call them T1 and T2. You could do that. But I'm going to call it TR for tournament. So TR dot tourney date. TR dot tourney location. All right. We'll make sure I use the right names. Tourney date. It looks like it's right to me. All right. But again, we have to now join together three tables. All right. So from teams, T, tournaments, TR, and the other one we're joining is tourney matches. Tourney underscore matches, which I just called TM. Again, those are arbitrary names. You do not have to. Please listen to this. You do not have to write where I've got right there. You do not have to write aliases. If you do not write aliases, so now I can say where there's what where TR dot team ID equals TM dot team ID. I'm sorry, that's a tourney ID, not a team ID. Tourney ID equals TM dot tourney ID. Okay? If you do not put in an alias, if you don't put in an alias, you have to put the name of the table there. You use aliases so you have less typing. You have less typing because then there's less of a chance you're going to make an error. Period. All right? I'm going to say where this, and I'm going to say and I'm going to check for both of them. It's not what's on yours. I'm going to check for both an odd lane ID and an even lane ID. Did you all hear what I said? I'm going to check for both. All right, so I'm going to say where, and so I'm going to say where T dot team ID equals TM dot odd lane team ID and T dot team ID equals TM dot even lane team ID. All right. Did I miss anything? I'm going to find out in just a minute. So let me hit enter and run it. And it says empty set. Now, you should actually be able to tell me why it said empty set. There's an error in my query. Anybody want to look at that query on the screen and tell me what the error is? Give you a hint. It's right near the end. I'm going to go back and put the query in again. Oh, I didn't want to hit enter, but That's fine. The error is right here. How can it be both an even lane and an odd lane? I don't know how it can be both, but it can be an even lane or an odd lane, can't it? Now we're getting a lot. 114 rows back. So that's the query. I would have to go in as a database person and ask, what the hell do you want? Probably not ask like that. All right? But I will tell you, I'm going to tell you this, and I'm going to keep it real quick. I'm telling you a story that literally is 35 years old. All right? So is it that way today? Somewhat, but not quite. I was working on a project at AT&T. I needed to add a field to a database. Are you with me? I needed to add a field to a table in a database. Okay? And I went in and I talked to my boss about it. I explained in detail what I needed, why I needed it. I made a copy of the database onto my own machine, put the field in there, was able to rewrite my program and show why I needed the field and how I needed the field. Does all that make sense? All right. So my boss said, Jeff, that sounds good. He said, I want you to get on the bus. The location that I was at, 2 blocks away, was the other location of people we worked with. They said, I don't even want you to call them. I want you to go over to them, talk to the database person, and explain what you need, why you need it, and show them just what you showed me. Okay? We should have it done by this afternoon. Got on the bus, went over there, showed everything. I got done. This is no joke. He looks at me afterwards and he goes, I don't think so. I said, what does that mean? I don't think you need that field. I said, I just showed you what I needed and why I don't care. And guess what? He was the person who owned the data. He was the database administrator. And I said, are you, literally after a while, I wasn't even mad. I was more, are you really being serious? He's like, yeah, so you might as well leave because it ain't happening. So what happened was I had to have my boss call his boss. His boss called him in. Long story short, he changed it. Not because he wanted to, but because his boss said, you're changing it. Database administrators are unbelievably powerful people. I told you, I've said this when we started, the most important part of any institution is its data. So, if you want to mess with that data, you need to get permission from the people who have the power. All right. Now, what if we ran this same query? I'm asking you this question. What if we ran this same query? So select this, from this, where this, and now I'm going to change this, and I'm going to get rid of that or. You think we're going to get 114 rows back? I didn't run it, so I don't know. 57. Well, what's 114 divided by 2? 57. So my guess is, but notice what we have here. Red Rooster, Bolero, etc. All right. So I'm going to run the same query one more time. But I'm going to use here even. And I get back 57. And I'm looking here, Thunderbird lanes, Marlins. Notice they're Red Rooster lanes. There's no Thunderbird lanes. Are they the same thing? I'd have to go back in and do more work looking at the data, either run more queries or look at the raw data. And if I still wasn't sure, I'd have to go back in and I'd have to talk to the people in charge and literally say, what the hell do you want? Don't take stuff for granted, period. All right? You say, well, I wouldn't. You'd be amazed at how many people do. All right? All right, let's look at the last few. Next, for each tourney match, What does that mean? Well, there's a thing here called tourney matches. For each tourney match, list the winning team ID. Well, that's not in tourney matches. And list the team name. And that's not in tourney matches. See that? But tourney matches we can use to get the winning team ID from match games and to get the team name from teams. Make sense? We again have to join together 3 tables. All right, so again, this is number 11. So for each tourney match, we want the winning team ID and the team name. So the winning team ID, I'm going to grab from match games. So from match games, MG, I'm calling it, dot winning team ID. And from the teams table, I'm going to get the team name. All right, so I want to select those from match games, MG, teams, T. Now, here's my question for you. We're not done. If I put a semicolon there and hit enter, is it going to work? Right now, if I put this here and hit enter, my question for you is this going to work? Yes, no, and why? No. Why? It gave you one of those Cartesian product joins where it took all the records in one table and gave you all the combinations of those with the other table. Remember how that other table, what was it, 1,344? I'm going to guess this is going to give us 2,688 records. All right, I'm wrong, but you get the idea. That wasn't what we wanted. Let's put it that way. So let's go back and run the same query. But don't hit enter. Okay. See, if I do a control break now, it breaks me out of MySQL. I don't want to do that because then I got to get back in again. All right. So once that comes up, do you understand when you look at this? It doesn't allow me a chance to say this. See that? See this right here? True or false? That took more than 0 seconds to print out. The query itself took no time. It's the output that took all the time. All right, that's where the bottleneck a lot of times is in the system, is on the output. So let me try this again. Not hit enter. So this, that. All right, but now I want to add to this. What did we say we wanted? Was it tourney matches? I believe. Tourney matches, TM, all right, where what do we got here? Let's try t.teamid equals, we'll just use the odd. Equals the tourney matches dot odd lane team ID, and we have to put the tm.match ID equal the mg.match ID. We should not get back 1,680 records now. Now putting that in and hitting enter, got 168. What is that? That's 1/10 of what I had before, right? Now looking at this, it may not make a hell of a lot of sense. We'd have to see exactly what we were going to do with that. All right? We're going to do one more query right now. And that is, I'm going to attempt, with your help hopefully, to grab at least one piece of information right here from each one of the tables. You understand what I'm saying? So we're going to have to do a join between all 6 tables. So let's say from the bowlers table, as we've done this before, so from the bowlers, let's put in the bowler first name and the bowler last name. All right, that's the first one. From the teams, we've been using the team name, so let's do that. All right. From the tournament, which is I guess it is called tournaments, let's put in the tourney date. That's half. All right. From the tourney matches, let's just put in the lane. I don't even know, that's probably the bowling lane, I don't know. From the match games, let's put in the winning team ID. And then finally, from the bowler scores, let's put in the one game. Now I'll erase this in a minute, but I'll put that up there while I'm formulating the query. Do you ever hear the old saying that it's like you threw a bunch of stuff up against the wall and you saw what sticks? You know what I'm talking about? It's kind of what we're doing with this query. But all I'm trying to do is to show you how you can combine information from 6 different tables. Everybody with me? All right. So what we end up showing from this might look like garbage, but that's okay. I just want to show you how we can join all 6 of the tables. All right? Because Mr. Calcaterra likes to have on his worksheets or homeworks and tests, he likes extra credit. So the extra credit for this assignment is, it's going to be worth 50 points, so the extra credit is going to be worth 10%. So if you want an extra 5 points, I'm going to ask you to try to create your own query, ideally a meaningful query where you combine information from, I think there's 8 tables on the sales order, where you combine information from all 8 tables. Okay? So let's start to write this. And let's see. Okay, we've got bowlers. I'm going to make that B. We've got bowler score. That's going to be BS. We've got match game. That's going to be MG. We've got tournament matches. That's going to be TM. We've got teams. That's going to be T. And we've got tournament. That's going to be TR. That's what I'm choosing to use for my aliases. Does that make sense? Again, there's nothing special. BS for bowler score. If you literally wanted to call it B score or whatever, you could do that. All right? So, taking it from the top then, and I'm going to do them just in this order. So I'm going to say select B dot bowler first name, B dot bowler last name, T dot team name, TR dot tourney date, TM dot lane, MG dot winning team ID, and finally BS dot one game. Now, the next thing I should do is go back to my list here. This thing with a paper on it. This is my schema, right? It has just the names. It doesn't have, it doesn't have the types or whatever, but I can at least check. So let's see. Bowler first name, bowler last name, that looks correct. Team name, that looks correct. Lane, that looks correct. Winning team ID, that looks correct. One game. That looks correct. Now, make sure they're in the right tables. Bowlers, B, right. Teams, T. TR, which is my tournaments table. That'll be the tourney date. TM, which is the tourney matches. That's the lane. MG, which is the match games, which is the winning team ID. And bowler scores, BS, that's the one game. That looks correct. Okay? I'm not done yet, but that's it. So I'm going to say from, now I've got a list of 6 tables with their aliases. So bowlers, B, and I'm being very deliberate the way I'm doing this. So bowlers, B, tournaments, TR, oh, I guess I missed teams, but that's fine. Teams, T, match, games, MG, bowlers, was it bowler scores? Yep. BS, did I list them all? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Which one am I missing? Tournaments. Did I do tourney matches? I don't think so. Tourney matches. TM. Okay? Now, I'm not going to do this. Not even going to tempt myself. But right now, if I hit semicolon and I hit enter, it would do one of those Cartesian product joins. Let's just pretend for a second. Let's pretend each one of these had 10 records in it. Some of you know have more. But it would then give me back what? 10 times 10, which is 100, times 10, which is 1,000, times 10, which is 10,000, times 10, which is 100,000, times 10, which is 1,000,000. You don't want to do that. If you do that and it gets hung, do a control break. All right. Worst case, if it gets hung and that doesn't work, do a Control-Alt-Delete and go into Task Manager and kill the frigging task. All right, because that's going to take the rest of the period and then some. And that's not what you want. All right. So I need my where now. Now I want to start doing my joins. So where what? All right. I can put them again in any order. Well, I can see that my tournaments, which is TR, that's got a tourney ID. And the TM, which I'm joining it to, that's got a tourney ID. All right. So I've got those two joined. So I've joined these two. All right. And I'm just looking to see what I have that I can join here. All right. So I'm noticing here that there's a team ID for teams and there's a team ID for bowlers. Okay. T.team ID equals B.team ID. So now I have taken teams and I've joined teams with bowlers. I've got half my tables joined. All right, it looks like. But I don't have my tourney matches. I don't have my match games. Okay. Well, I'm looking here and notice I've got in tourney matches and in match games, they both have a match ID. So, and tourney matches dot match ID equals match games dot match ID. So now I've taken my tourney matches, all right, and I've joined them. I've got these two joined. Well, it looks like I still have my bowler score is sitting out there in nowhere land. So I see that match games and bowler score both have a match ID. Now, when you look at that, all right, when you look at that, you're counting, you got 1, 2, 3, 4. Remember I said before, how many ands would you have? We have 6 tables, so we really should have 5 ands. Does that make sense? So right now, we would get data if we hit enter, but I don't think that this is complete the way it is. So what I'm doing here, and I'm going to do this in front of you so you can see it. Okay, so what have we done here? All right, I've got some extras of these. So the first thing we did was we said where the tournament ID equals a TM. So the tournament, okay, the tournament right there equals the tournament matches. So the tournament and tournament matches. Those two are now linked. Then I said, and the team is equal to the bowler. So the team and the bowler, those are linked. Then I said, the tournament match ID, all right, is equal to that one. So now those are linked. And then finally, the match game match ID, all right, that's equal to the BS match ID. So those two are linked. But when you look at this, there's a link missing here, and there's a link missing here. See that? So I want to try to go in and link up those two tables. All right? So I'm going to go there, and I notice that I have for bowlers and bowler scores, both of them have a bowler ID, which I have not put in so far. So I'm going to say, and bowlers.bowler ID equal bowler scores.bowler ID. Now when I look, now I have linked up these tables. So the only one missing still is this one. So the question is, do I want to include odd lanes or even lanes or both odd lanes and even lanes? See what I'm saying? Because if I do just one, that's going to give me 57 records. If I do them both, that's going to give me 114 records. Everybody understand that? All right? I'm going to do an or, and I'm going to do them both. So I'm going to look at that last one, and I'm going to say, and, be a little bit more complex here, but I'm going to say the tournament, TR dot, I'm sorry, it's the teams. So that's the one that's missing. So the T dot, all right, let's try that again. The teams, we want to join teams with tournament matches. So the teams dot team, T dot team ID equals the TM dot odd lane team ID, or the T dot team ID equals the TM dot even lane team ID. Now I don't think there's any errors in there. I'm going to erase this now. And I purposely tried to put just about everything on its own line so you could see what goes with what. Does that make sense? What we get here could be us throwing something against the wall and whatever sticks. So we may get a lot of stuff, we may get a little stuff. It may not make any sense when we take a look at it. All right? So, unknown column, TM lane infield list. TM was the, oh, because it's lanes. Good gosh. So let me go back up. Select this, this, this. That's got to be lanes. So what came after lanes here? mg.winningTeamID. All right. This might run for a while. I didn't run this one beforehand. So I don't know what we're going to get back. It could run for the rest of the period for all I know. All right. The point is, true or false, we were able to join information from all 6 tables. That doesn't necessarily mean that that join and that information made sense. It may not have made sense. What I decided to do, and I decided this during the break, there's 4,032 records. What I decided to do, all right, while you guys were on your last break is, bless you, I'm not going to go over Chapter 5 today. So your first worksheet will just be on Chapters 1, 2, 3, and 4. All right? Now, before we finish up, if you look on screen here, I want everybody to do this. Everybody. And if you're not here today, I hope you do it soon. I want you to do a show databases. All right? You would not have everyone I have. I understand that. Is there anyone in here right now that does not have this sales orders example? All right. Then what you will have to do the first day of that we started on this, I gave you that folder that was called MySQL right here. What was in that folder under sales orders, you're going to have to go in and first copy in the structure and then copy in the data. All right? Make sure you do the structure first, or else it's going to go and you're going to get a lot of errors because you're going to be trying to put data in where you have no structure yet. Where it says there, the structure, again, you have to understand this now. Okay? This right here, this is your database schema. It is the name of the database. It is the name of each table. It is the name of each field in each table. It is the data type of each field in each table. And if any of these have special considerations, not null, etc., it has those in there. Then at the bottom, it's got all the different constraints. Adding indexes, adding primary keys. We haven't even talked about foreign keys yet. We will. All right. Tomorrow will be lab for the entire period. Everybody hear that? All right. And I think I mentioned this to you the other day, but I'm saying it again. Mr. Wilson, I don't know if you are able to come for the entire period tomorrow. If you are, that'd be great. The reason that would be great is, and again, I may have told you this, so if I did, sorry, but I thought I was going to be a nice guy. With Mr. Schaefer-Cotter leaving, okay, since he left, they had to bring the guy in from Perryville to teach because he's the only guy who knows Mr. Schaefer-Cotter stuff, okay? So, they played musical chairs. So, Mike Stacey, the guy who maybe you've seen him, he comes in after class, tall guy, shaved head, beard. He comes in, all right, for Ryan. So Charles had to go over there to cover Mike's stuff, all right? So now we've got the guy from Perryville coming to Wentzville, the guy from Wentzville going to Perryville, all right? Now, so we had nobody to cover Charles. So Paul Knott, who works in the afternoon, he's now covering for Charles. Why am I telling you all this stuff? Tomorrow, there is a Wentzville employee breakfast that I told Charles, hey, I can go there from 7:30 to 8. He wrote back, great. You go for the whole entire breakfast, and when you get done, bring them all over to here and give them tours. No, I wanted to go for a half an hour and say hello. But now I'm going for 2 hours. So what will happen tomorrow is I will just literally have a piece of paper that you will sign in on. All right? I can ask Ethan if he's here by 8:05. I can say, who is here at 8:05? I don't want to go, pardon my French, I don't want to go doing this crap where I have to be playing because you're here at 8:08 that I have to mark you tardy. All right? And I realize sometimes it's tough to get here right on time, especially for a morning class, but please do your best. All right? Okay. The other thing to tell you, because I just got this yesterday afternoon, so my afternoon students like Ethan have seen this, but you guys haven't. Let's see. All right. Well, I don't know why that's taken so long, but it is. So I got this from Mr. Sutton yesterday, who is the site director. Some of you have met Mr. Sutton. Jeff, would you be able to present at Fort Zumwalt High School Career Day next Tuesday? You know, my first reaction was, well, I could, but I sure as hell don't want to. But you know what? I really do want to, because if it helps one student there think, you know, maybe I ought to go into this program, it's worth it. All right? And even if they don't come here, but if they decide to go into a web-based or a programming-based career, it's worth it. I think it is. So what they said was this. This is the letter. I've got to present from 10:50 to 11:20, then from noon to 12:30, then from 12:30 to 1, then from 1 to 1:25. 4 presentations. All right? And I asked yesterday, and they told me that this high school is in O'Fallon someplace. Fine. All right? I'll just type in the address, and I'll put it in my GPS. Okay? What's that? It's by the Jack in the Box? What, the one that's off of K?
It's on both on Main Street. There's one side
Okay.
of Main Street.
All right. I'll find it. I'm not worried about it. I've been around there enough. My wife's already found every freaking shopping center there is around here. So I've gone to a lot of them. All right. So the point is, I asked Charles, and he said, yeah, do it. So I'm leaving here at 10 on Tuesday. So if I lecture Tuesday, it'll be just till 10. Again, hopefully Ethan can be here by 10 o'clock on Tuesday. And so for the second half of the period, that doesn't mean, well, Jeff's leaving, so I'm leaving. No, don't do that. Please. And I'll tell you, some of you, you know who you are. You know, I know it gets antsy, but if it's 11:45 and you're starting to get up and walk around and whatever, when Charles comes back, he loves to walk around in here. And what he's told me is he's just bypassing me. He's going to come in here. Remember that day he came in and yelled at you about your belt? He's going to come in here and start yelling at all of you. You know, sit your ass down. He gave it to you because you were playing on your phone. You know, I'm not as big a hard guy as he is, but you know what? He's the department chair. And part of my employment is based on what he thinks of me. And if his idea is, you know, Jeff's too lax, I can get written up for that. And you know what's really bad about that? No, they don't fire me. It's worse. They make me go through a program where I learn to be a hard ass. And I don't want to do that either. All right? So the other thing is, and I've already told the afternoon class, I'm not going to get back till 2. My afternoon class is 12:35 till 4:25. So your last half of the period will be lab. Their first half of the period will be lab. All right? Probably what will happen is when I leave, even if Ethan's here, and I believe if he says he'll be here, I have total faith in him. But probably what will happen is they're going to probably open that wall on the end here when I leave. And Mr. Knott's going to look in here. So if he sees anybody leave, and Paul's a great guy. I don't know if you've ever met him. He's just a super good guy. All right? But if he sees something he doesn't like, he'll come in and talk to you about it too. The difference is, let's say that I looked in here, and I'm looking, and I go, you know what, Evan, is that a Rankin jacket? And let's say it wasn't. I don't know if it is or not, but let's say it wasn't. All right. I would just say, hey, I would send you an email, or I'd walk by and very quietly say it to you. Paul will go, hey, how do you pronounce your last name? Rigo. You go, hey, Rigo, we don't wear non-Rankin stuff in here. Take it off. Because I've heard him do it. He'll do it in front of the whole class. So if you're doing something you shouldn't do, he will think nothing of walking in here and telling you that. It's not a warning. It's not a threat. It's a statement of fact. All right? But you will have, this thing, I will have it done by this afternoon, okay? I will email a copy of it to everybody, all right, including Mr. Wilson, all right? And it will be due 1 week from tomorrow. We don't meet that day. That's Good Friday. If you're an atheist, okay, it's the day we're off, all right? But we don't meet that day. I will still expect that if you have not turned it in on Thursday, you will email it to me by Friday. Does that make sense? All right? At a minimum, you will have lab time today, and my hope is, starting next week, we're going to add, not tomorrow, but starting next week, we're going to go into some new stuff. But, all right, finishing by 10 o'clock every day. It was a little later today. But getting done by 10. Then you get from 10 to 11:50, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday of next week. So 4 hours tomorrow, all right, 2 hours Monday, 2 hours Tuesday, 2 hours Wednesday, 2 hours Thursday. That's 12 hours, if I did my counting right. There will be 25 questions. 25 questions, 12 hours. Even if they're hard, you could spend a half an hour on each question, and you wouldn't have to work on this outside of class. All right? What I am going to do on at least one of the questions, now, again, I showed you today the old-fangled way of doing joins. I'm going to require that on at least one question, you do joins the new way like they showed it in the book, just so you can show me that you can do it that way. All right? So by the end of the day today, it might be late today, but I'm going to have these 25 questions done. They will be emailed to you. Any questions on anything we went over today? Is what we're doing starting to make sense? Okay, that's the most important thing, because we're going to do this next week, we're going to do this the following week, and then probably the following week after that, which is somewhere like around the 10th or something like that of April, we're jumping back into C#. We're going to create our own database. We're going to use Microsoft's SQL Server to create that database. We will put some records in it, all right? And then we will write a GUI app, and that GUI app will allow us to grab those records out of the database, add new stuff, delete existing stuff, change existing stuff, and you'll see that when we do that and we hit enter, it's going to write it right back to the database. Does that make sense? That's what we've got left to do. The last week we are in class, we meet Monday the 7th of May, Tuesday the 8th of May, Wednesday the 9th of May. There will be no lecture on those 3 days, promise. They will all be lab, and ideally it will be time for you to go in then and work on your portfolios. Before that day, I promise, I'm going to come in here and show you that MobiRise that I showed to the students. It's more for the benefit of you two, so you can come in and start creating your portfolios. I don't even know, I asked Evan to give you both of you accounts. I don't know if he did it or not. All right, but you will be able to. So in other words, I can find out right now. And like I said, my guess is right now what I'm about to do won't work. If I go out for Matt and I go out to IWT what is it? IWT.rankin, what is it? IWT.rankin.edu/ and it's got to be your name. So let's say Matt. All right. Now, don't worry about that. That's just a dummy file that was put there. Okay? But if I go out there and try you two, my guess is you don't have accounts, but I could be wrong. How do you spell your last name?
L-A-R-E-S.
See, you don't have an account. Josh, I know your last name. So my guess is, if you don't have one, probably neither of you have one. You don't either. But you will. All right? And it's very simple. What you'll have to do is when you get all done, and I'll show you this because I'll go back and review it for the class. You literally go into FileZilla. If you've never done that before, it splits your screen in two. On the left is your desktop. On the right is the Rankin server. You can just take whole folders and drag them over. When you do that, boom. The advantage of doing this is now, once you guys get done with that, your portfolios are available to anyone on earth with an internet connection. They can't change them, but they can look at them. So if somebody comes in here and says, oh, IWT Rankin, etc., and I come in and I go, all right. Don't know why it looks like that. It might have to be under portfolio. I don't know. There you go. So this summer, when I am meeting with potential employers and they say, do you have any students who are partway through the program that you could recommend? I don't like to do that, because if I go, oh yeah, Andrew, then it's like Tony says, well, why Andrew? I say, okay, Andrew and Tony. And then Matthew says, why not me? And then, so what I do is I give them links to all 8 of your portfolios, because they should make the decision. There was a woman in here, and Ethan knows because he saw her. There was a woman in here who was very interested in hiring one of our second-year graduates, all right, in mid-May. And she called me in after she interviewed 3 of them. There were 3 of them who had an interest in the position. So she called me in and she goes, okay, tell me a little bit about each of the 3 of them. And that's fair. Then she goes, okay, which one's the best? Well, what the hell kind of question is that? Again, it goes back to like, which of your kids do you love the most? All right, that's not a fair question. What she asked was fair, but I didn't think I could give her an unbiased answer. And I said, I'll tell you what I'll do, is I'll try to tell you the strengths and weaknesses of each one, in my opinion. But this is me spending 10 hours or 20 hours a week with them over the last almost 2 years. Do I know them? Not like their family knows them, etc. But I will tell you what I've seen. And that's what she wanted. All right? Okay. Rest of the period then is yours.